They'd like to kind of, the whole world full of smarty pant right now. This guy's smarty pants. This guy's a smarty pants. His name's the Mess D'Souza. Now the mess, he's the mess, and he said he got a video up and said, "Did America and the West provoke the Ukraine conflict?" I think I have to go get an adult. I'll be back. All right, welcome to the show, by the way. Like and subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show in any way you can. Subscribe on Twitch, twitch.tv/HalSparks. Subscribe on YouTube, infotainmentwars.com. Who needs documents? Dinesh D'Souza, I mean, out of the mouths of babes. Seriously. Oh, 65 Oh, I was gigantic on your television, was I? It's very, by the way, if those of you, let me know if you watch the show in the chat room right now. If you watch it on a television set or on your computer or on a phone or what you're watching on right now, if you vary it around. I just want to know how many actual television sets I'm on where this is like a real TV show. That's crazy to me. I always think of it on a monitor or laptop, right? Both, yeah, phone, laptop, and phone. 65-inch color, like, wow. La-di-da. Phone. Watch it on a tablet, a 45-inch TV. My monitor is my TV. Yeah, that's increasingly true, isn't it? Look at that. Lots of phones out there. Excellent. I don't know how you guys do the chat on a friggin' phone. That's amazing. By the way, most smart TVs these days have a Twitch or a YouTube option on them. If you want to watch like that, give it a shot. Also, Apple TV has apps for that kind of thing, so sometimes it'll make it easier on you, and you can watch both and not either, not at all. I don't know. Anyway, so here we go. This is, and I'm curious. The good thing is unlike, I guess, Bongholio, Dinesh D'Souza is not afraid to ask questions. Did we start this? Let's go.
There's a certain grim realism about war, which...
Realism? You mean a grim reality? Fuck, you're dumb.
You can't avert your eyes from. There it is.
No? Well, I suppose if you have a hard-on for watching people die, that might be true. I mean, there's certain things that a lot of people actually... One of the problems with war is people do avert their eyes. Unless they, of course, perv on it or something.
The buildings falling down, there are the bombs going off, there's the blood on the street. Most recently, the Russians strike at a nuclear reactor. Fortunately, this isn't producing nuclear fallout or nuclear contamination, but it shows you...
Yet. Also, like, we went from blood on the street to, I heard...
Putin. Putin's a guy who knows what he wants.
Putin is a guy who knows what he wants. He's the kind of guy who knows where he's going. He's walking down the street, shooting people that he meet, fully loaded Tommy gun.
He doesn't care about who he has to pulverize in order to get it. He's willing to pay the cost.
Yeah, if he wants it, he's going to get it. He did it yesterday. He's going to do it again. He doesn't even have to think about it. He's just...
it's good to be the king.
And this is not a guy who, cares about his worldwide reputation, or here's a guy.
Yeah, he's not worried about his Yelp reviews. This is a guy, fuck it. It's not that we're losing fans. It's just our fans are becoming more selective.
You can somehow dissuade. We're going to take him off of Twitter. We're going to close down all the Russian accounts on Twitter. None of this is really going to matter. This is the guy who wants the Ukraine. Now,
I see. So the Ukraine, you mean you believe it's a territory that he actually owns. So you're using the Ukraine, not Ukraine, which is a country. And he wants it. And there's nothing we can do. He's going to take it because... What are we going to do? Take away his Twitter account? I mean, come on. What kind of a leader, what kind of a man gives a rat's ass if he loses his Twitter account? Am I right? What kind of a, I don't know. Can you imagine if the president of the United States got upset at losing his Twitter account. I mean, honestly, at least Putin's a real man.
The real question is why?
Yeah, that's the real question. No, it isn't. The real question is when. When's this going to end, and when's he getting the fuck out? His why is bullshit. We know what his why is, but let's hear what you think his why is so that you can excuse what he did and I guess prolong the when.
What's in it for Putin? Why is it so important for this big grizzly bear Russia to crush this little puppy dog, let's say, called the Ukraine? Well,
called Ukraine. It's not called the Ukraine, except by the big grizzly bear, which isn't really a grizzly bear because its economy is smaller than California's. So and the bear is actually the state animal of California. It's on the flag. So smaller than that bear, anyways.
The political scientist John Mearsheimer has a theory about this, and I want to go into this theory in a little bit of depth. And
yes, that's why we come to you, Dinesh, for a little bit of depth. That's really, I mean, if anyone can be relied on to provide a little bit of depth, it's you.
Notice that
Ask Debbie. Sorry.
I'm doing something that is really not common in our debate today. We don't have really much of a debate at all over foreign policy. I remember from the Reagan years and...
Foreign policy? The fuck are you talking about? First of all, we have all kinds of debate about foreign policy. See the Iran deal. You think we're lacking on debate about that in our current body politic? How about the Paris Accord, fucko? Or climate change? Or how about truckers? You think there's not debate going on? And you don't think in the House of Representatives, in the Senate, and in the Foreign Affairs Committee, and all these other places, and in the White House itself, amongst people working there, even when Trump was in office, which seemed to be everybody who was like, yeah, we can't do that, and Trump going, why not? Can't we just steal it? There was debate going on. Of course there's debate going on.
Remember, too, competing theories about trying to understand the Soviet Union and a kind of vigorous debate, left and right, but also debate within the right about what type of sort of anti-communism, what strategies are most effective.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was a strategies of what kind of anti-communism. Do we want to just McCarthyism or thermonuclear war? I mean, I don't know. Why don't we'll just flip a coin like Chigger in No Country for Old Men. Choose the coin. Pick something. This coin traveled 22 years to be here.
We're getting very little of this. What we get is
it just happened, and we didn't do it. What do you mean debate? Fuck off.
Of party line from the kind of neoliberal left. We get a few exaggerated...
By the way, no fucking idea he has no idea what neoliberalism means.
Oh, Putin is the new Hitler.
He just means new and liberals. That's what he thinks. He thinks progressives are new liberals, therefore neoliberal. Fucking hell.
Things like that. But in terms of actual understanding of Ukraine and Putin, his motives, what he's after,
right.
Very little of that. Well, this is what...
Yes, there's very little discussion of people that actually understand what the fuck he's thinking, because none of it makes any sense. What does that have to do with the fucking debate about it? I don't know. Oh, hi. How are you? Love you. Hi. Chip was jumping on me. He wanted to be part of the show, so I had to close the door and put him out because he just needed to sleep here. And then, yeah, it was a thing. Yeah, love you.
John Mearsheimer comes in, and this is one of the leading students of the region and one of the leading thinkers of the so-called realist school. So the realist school...
Yeah, it's the realist schools. Yeah, he doesn't... he's not from the Picasso school of foreign affairs.
is based on the idea that, look, with a lot of countries, there are some countries with which ideology is paramount. And so, for example, you might have China, where they're teaching Marxism, Leninism in the schools, and ideology is important to them.
Yeah.
And also not to mention a justification for their centralized control. But there are other countries like Russia, which are kind of gangster regimes. Now, Russia and the old...
Yeah, and we wouldn't call that ideological any more than we would call the mob ideological. All right.
Days was an ideological state. But under Putin, it's not. It's basically, we're a big country. We've lost a lot of our power. We're trying to get it back. And we don't like pesky little dogs, if you will, barking at us in our grizzly bear's lair. That's basically...
Yeah, that's... come on, everybody gather around. Snuggle in. Dinesh is going to tell us a bedtime story. Yeah. How do we not get back down? Tell me the story about the big old bear and the little puppy lived with him. He lives in the cave and he tried not to fart and wake him up again. It's the story of the big old bear, and he gives the puppy little scale, and then he eats him, shakes him, and kills all the puppies, and I don't want to hear the story anymore. It's scary.
The realist view. Now, what Mearsheimer says is that
John Mearsheimer, fucking Smith. His name is my name too, John Mearsheimer. Sorry. Okay.
Russia could live with a democratic Ukraine. They could care less whether Ukraine is democratic or not. What they do care about is whether Ukraine is hostile to Russia or not. That's what they care about. And
no. Because if the democracy aspect of it is the point of the hostility, what they can have is a functioning free democracy on their doorstep that's occupied by people that are just like Russians, because they're going to start asking uncomfortable questions, the kind that you and Bongino, who's looking for DP for his bunghole, cannot even fathom, which is, why can't we have that too? Why can we not be as free as they are?
According to Mearsheimer, the West has now for 25 years been feeding the Ukraine with what you can call dangerous illusions. So what's the danger?
Yeah, that's what it's been. We've been giving them the illusion that they should be allowed to be independent. By the way, the Russians also did that. You know how they did, Dinesh? They signed a treaty with NATO that said that independent countries have their sovereignty honored, and they can choose however they want to defend their country, including joining NATO.
Illusion. The dangerous illusion that kind of settled itself into sort of liberal, neoliberal elite circles after the end of the Cold War was the neoliberal. Yeah, just Leo nibblers. We don't need to think of the world in terms of realpolitik anymore. This is not a case of power politics being played out the way it did in the 18th or the 19th century. That was then, but this is now. We're now above all.
Oh, right, yeah. You mean time moves forward and things are different? So, like how the Democrats before 1964 were largely made up of the Dixiecrats, the Southern Democrats, and because of the Civil Rights Movement, there was a huge switch over, and basically the Republicans and the Democrats switched sides. And so while the Republicans were the anti-slavery party, they switched over to becoming the supporters of the slavery ideas and the idea of Southern heritage in defense of those Dixiecrats that became Republicans to give them power. And then Democrats moved closer to urban centers, big areas of population, because they believe in one person, one vote instead of land votes.
We're integrating the whole world into a kind of neoliberal order. It's going to be based upon democratic societies. It's going to be based upon trade. It's going to be based upon this idea that we are all inhabitants of the same interconnected planet. It's big.
Yeah, what kind of bullshit is that?
Kind of your World Economic Forum pablum. And
wait a minute. Sorry, what qualifies as World Economic Forum pablum?
Based upon this idea that we are all inhabitants of the same interconnected planet.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. What was the other one?
Integrating the whole world into a kind of neoliberal order. It's going to be based upon democratic societies. It's going to be
Ew. Democratic societies? What?
based upon trade. It's going to
Trade? What? When? Jesus Christ. I'm sorry. I've switched over. I have to be pro-Putin now. Not democracies and trade. Dear God.
be based upon this idea that we are all inhabitants of the same interconnected planet. It's
Which is obviously not true because I don't know where Dinesh lives, but it's not on this fucking planet.
basically kind of your World Economic Forum pablum. And the idea is that it's one thing to go to Davos and ski, and at the end of the day to mouth this kind of these kinds of slogans. It's a whole other thing to go to a little country which is sitting right next to a really big and dangerous country that is
Oh, you mean like Poland, Latvia, or Lithuania, those countries that are also sitting next to it, that are also free democracies that are engaged in trade with the EU? What the fuck makes Ukraine special? Oh, right. Russia wants resources. Get fucked, you clown.
honestly looking over its shoulder and tell Ukraine, hey, Ukraine, listen, you may be a little dog, but, you see that grizzly bear over there? Go bite him. Go bite him. Go snap.
How the fuck are they biting them? What are you talking about? Where's this analogy even come from? Yeah, Finland. Exactly. Yeah, Finland's basically just been towing the line of the big bear for a long time. They know at least not to kick it. Get the hell out
Go
of here.
snap at his ankles. Don't worry. You're part of the West, you see.
And also, how are they snapping at their ankles? Honestly. Where was the what is his where in the analogy did the Ukrainians snap at the ankles of Russia?
Part of this new democratic neoliberal order. You're the future. Putin's the past. So go get him. Go get him.
Which is true. But
We're behind you. And then Ukraine goes, okay, let's go get him. Let's go get him. And
what? Honest to God, this is a grown man. What the fuck? What is this? Yes, he's calling Ukraine a little dog. He's saying that the West got them all excited to go bite Russia.
And then the grizzly bear turns around, whop, and then suddenly the little dog turns around and goes, okay, where are all my friends? Where are all my allies? I thought all these people were going to come rescue me. Turns out no one's going to come rescue you. No.
First of all, yeah, we are. We're supplying them with arms and aid. The entire world is fucking behind them. We can't do a no-fly zone because they're not in NATO. But short of that, we're giving them a shit ton of stuff. We just gave them fighter jets, you fucking moron. What is this? What is this, like, children's hour? Christ, this is dumb. I'm shocked. I mean, I'm surprised. I guess I'm most surprised that the childish storyline about the little dog and the big bear went on this long and concluded with the fact that it was Ukraine's fault for biting Russia, and Russia turned around and walloped them back in, I guess, self-defense. Is that what this is? Is that what we're seeing, Dinesh? The blood on the streets, the shelling of nuclear facilities and apartment blocks, the gunning down of families trying to escape. That's just self-defense.
Is going to send troops. Nobody wants to fight on your behalf. You're on.
Yeah, they are. There's like 19,000 foreign fighters from the U.S. and Canada and other countries going in there to help fight. It's a country of 45 million people. They don't need soldiers. They need stuff, and we're sending stuff.
Own pal. So this is Mearsheimer's point. It is grossly.
Mearsheimer's an asshole, and he's talking as if 1997 didn't occur on the map or on the calendar. He's honestly, Mearsheimer and his ilk are all talking about the agreement during this while the Soviet Union, the USSR, still existed. And he's talking about a verbal agreement over Germany and the reunification of Germany in the fucking 80s and then into 1990. That part of it, like that's where he's stuck. That history did not move past that point. Never mind the fact that Why the fuck should Germany not be a whole country again and Berlin not be a whole city again, simply, because we made a verbal agreement not to expand NATO before the USSR dissolved. And then after Russia became a country and was around for about 7 years, they signed an agreement that they were okay with Poland and Lithuania and all these other countries joining NATO, including Ukraine.
Responsible to go to a little country sitting on the edge of a big country. I mean,
First of all, it's not a little country. Lithuania is a little country. Moldova is a little country. Ukraine's not. Ukraine is fucking ginormous compared to a lot of European countries.
You can kind of understand this by flipping it around. Imagine,
let's just turn it around. Let's act as if this was, so Ukraine is in a short skirt and she's hanging out at a bar.
Right now, if China were to say, listen, we're going to make it our policy to cultivate very close ties with Mexico and Canada.
Oh, this fucking stupid analogy. No, this is not the same thing. Not at all. First of all, at no point, and by the way, this would be, you'd have to go back to pre-Alamo, and the United States would have to be in the process. We would have had to, 10 years ago, attack Mexico and claimed land that we believed we should have gotten in the U.S. In the Mexican-American War. Just took some of it, and we were fighting for 8 years in an area outside of that to claim even more land. And then you could bring in your analogy that other countries come to Mexico's rescue. We're not doing any of that shit. And if we were, we wouldn't be the country we are. It'd be a whole different conversation.
So that we can basically egg them on to confront the United States. Think of how we would feel about this. Think how we would respond. We would
laugh. If China and Russia were telling Mexico, psst, attack America, they'd go, why? We're trade partners with America. Because they're going to attack you. But, oh God, this
sense the grizzly, we'd be like, wait a minute, Canada? Really? The Canadians? Well, who's putting them up to it? The Canadians themselves are not capable of this. Oh, it's the Chinese, really? So the point is that big powers and strong powers get really nervous when in their very backyard, they're being provoked by external forces.
Yeah, that's what it is. External forces have been provoking Russia in this by... what, not attacking after they took Crimea and Donbass?
Now, the United States, I concede, is stronger than Russia. Mearsheimer, I think, knows this too. But that applies to a straight-out confrontation.
By the way, citation needed.
You may say on neutral ground between the two parties. It's kind of like, yeah, I'm an MMA fighter, you're an MMA fighter, let's get in the ring. But what if we're not in the...
Yeah, that's a perfect analogy, Dinesh. I look at you and that's what I think.
What if we're talking about Russia's own backyard? What if we're talking about fighting not in the middle, but over there? Well,
that's right. Right. How good is my fighting in a ring if I don't have home court advantage? That's what Russia's finding out, fucko. They're the ones who went into Ukraine.
Much more difficult for us to conduct hostilities. Here is Adam Kinzinger. Let's establish a no-fly zone over Ukraine. Really? How? How are we going to do that? Are we going to send thousands of bombers over there and shoot down Russian MiGs? Shoot down Russian planes?
Okay, again, I haven't seen Kinzinger suggest that we have a no-fly zone. Is that something he really said? He's a Republican. So that he's not, I don't have any responsibility for sheepdogging their party. Let's see. Kinzinger, no fly zone. Did he actually say that? Okay, so this is Washington Post. He posted this. This is on Kinzinger's site. Washington Post calls grow for a no-fly zone over Ukraine. Here's what it would mean. Where's the... okay. In an emotional scene, Adam Kinzinger called for one on Friday. A former NATO commander retired said its time has come. Philip Breedlove said that. Okay, so this is where he did it. Okay. One, the fate of Ukraine is being decided tonight, but also the fate of the West. Declare a no-fly zone over Ukraine at the invitation of their sovereign government. Disrupt Russia's air ops to give the heroic Ukrainians a fair fight. It's now or later. Now or later? It's now or later. Now, you mean now or never? Okay, well then we'll just stick with later. The fuck? 2, well, I guess this is later. 2, history teaches that taking a stand is inevitable and gets more costly with time. We own the sky. That's not true either, especially if somebody's punching themselves out. We own the skies. Russia cannot hold a candle to our air power. That's right, but we don't want to lose pilots for this particular reason and risk a nuclear confrontation. Do this. Putin is too dangerous to hope he's satisfied with just Ukraine. Nobody thinks that. Who has to call the no-fly zone over Ukraine? Why hasn't it happened yet? Yes, thanks, Jonathan. Because it would be a horrifically bad idea. That's a terrible idea. And again, it's not a good. It's terrible. It's stupid. No, there are other ways to help them. We can provide them with surface-to-air missiles, for example, that will protect them from flyovers, from planes, and all that kind of stuff. But Russia is yet to be using any kind of giant bombers, and their pilots suck. Why waste the air power and risk ratcheting it up when they're not capable of doing this kind of damage? We're better off, and this, if you're going to do this on the DL, and I know Bongholio would not approve of me saying this out loud on the air, but the idea is you give them drones but that are for the Ukrainian military to use, and we fly them from here via satellite.
The Ukraine, the irresponsibility of this, the risk of starting World War III over a country we're not willing to send a single troop, a single man over.
No, that's not the point. The point is not we're going to risk World War III over a country we wouldn't send a soldier to. No, we're not sending soldiers there because of the risk of World War III. We don't want to. We give them other stuff. There are other ways to support them that is not us getting into this and turning a proxy fight into an actual fight. That's what it is. God, these guys are stupid.
To fight for is just shows, in a sense, the kind of recklessness, the unrealism
of the Republican Party,
the illusory nature of neoliberal rhetoric. And this, I think, is mere
neoliberal. That was Adam Kinzinger, fucko.
His point. Now, I don't agree with everything in Mearsheimer's analysis. He has an article. This actually came out years ago. And
yes, as is and his ideas are based on what happened in Donbass and Crimea at the time.
Predicted all this, where he says, quote, why the Ukraine crisis is the West's fault. Now, I wouldn't say that the Russian invasion of Ukraine is our fault. It's Putin's fault. He did it. He's responsible for it. But Mearsheimer's...
Yeah, but we kind of made him. You know what I mean? We talked Ukraine into biting the bear, and the bear bit back. I mean, it's basically our fault. And the way we did that was by trading with them and supporting their democracy. Horrifying.
More subtle point is we sort of egged them on. We egged on the Ukraine.
Yeah, remember all the years of egging on that went on? I mean, I don't remember a week without a news story about, like, why hasn't Ukraine kicked Russia's ass yet?
And in that sense, we pushed this conflict forward. We made it more likely by telling the Ukraine what? Listen, you can be part of the EU. Listen, you can be part of NATO. We're this fighting alliance where we all hang together. We go get the Russians. And the Ukrainians are like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Is that what they did? For how long? Again, where's this cartoon? Where the fuck did this happen? Like, the initial trade that started up between the EU and Ukraine that happened a little bit under the Yanukovych regime, where he was hoping to kind of siphon a little off the top, and Putin had this idea, well, we'll just gut it from the inside, we'll steal a bunch of money from the EU, and then collapse the Ukrainian government, and then absorb the country after all these trade deals have been set up, all these pipelines and everything through it. We'll just keep it all for ourselves. Fell apart because the Euromaidan happened, and those people were like, hey, you can't, we understood there would be trade and jobs and all this other stuff, and here you are siphoning this shit out. The dude had a fucking, like, water slide in his house or some shit, like a 8-hole golf course through his giant palace. Like, it was ridiculous. Yanukovych was ripping them off. Then Poroshenko came in as kind of a mitigator in the middle, but a lot of the people that were in the government were still Russian sock puppets. And then eventually they got to Zelensky, because nothing like this happens overnight. And Russia was building up and seething to some degree as the Ukrainians were able to stand on their own and have a real democracy. That's, according to this asshole, that's us and Ukraine egging Russia on. Again, it's the short skirt mentality.
And now it is they, more than we, who have to face the firestorm.
That's it. That's the end. That's the whole fucking thing. I mean, okay. No, quit it. The brutal idiocy of this